This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Hiko Simon. We are live. Yeah, thanks for people who joined me just now for the pre-party, I suppose, for the show on the Tokyo Digital Crew channel where I was just playing new music. We're doing an after party tonight after the show. As usual, going to be your requests, which I can then focus on. Yeah, how's it going? It's Golden Week here in Japan this week. Today is Midori no Hi, which actually used to be Showa Day, which is of course, in Japan, no one calls the emperor by their actual name. They call it by the name of the reign. So Showa, enlightened peace, which is exactly, of course, what the reign of Emperor Hirohito was best known for. I mean, it actually was in some ways. But yeah, because he was basically the story when MacArthur sort of needed to execute all the war criminals, but realized it was important to keep the emperor in place just to make sure that the society would comply with the occupation. The GHQ came up with the story that Emperor Hirohito was mostly just gardening during the war, as someone does. He wasn't really actually involved. And it was all part of the mythos that the emperor, well, I mean, apparently he did really like gardening. Apparently he even published some papers on specific sorts of plants and stuff like that. So it was a hobby of his. But they decided to make that his entire life. And hence, today, the day after he died, when it was converted into a public holiday. In fact, there was actually Showa no Hi recently. So, but I've heard that Midori no Hi was basically, a greenery day. It was sort of as I understand, it's related to the old emperor, i.e., the emperor did nothing wrong day. So I hope you're enjoying that. Tomorrow we have Kodomo no Hi, Children's Day, which I do remember when I found out in Japanese class when I was in high school in New Zealand that Japan has a Mother's Day, Father's Day, and a Children's Day. And I asked my parents, why don't we have a Children's Day? And my parents, without hesitation, answered, because every day is Children's Day, which is probably true. But Japanese kids get a bonus day. We've had some beautiful weather. It's a great time. I mean, we've had some crappy weather as well. It's been kind of rainy some days and beautiful and sunny other days. But if you are right now is like the last chance to really come to Tokyo before it turns to crap. We're about to get rainy season, probably like in the next week or so. It feels some days like it's already started. There's been a lot of rain lately. And when it ends, and when you're crying out that I need to see the sunshine, and I can't stand the darkness anymore, and I want this to be over, that's when summer hits, and then you say, "Come back, rainy season, all is forgiven," and 3 months of just total hell. So, yeah, I know lots of people planning trips to Japan for their summer holidays and stuff. I would say skip that and come here now. It is actually lovely. It was like 26 degrees today and sunny and beautiful. And yesterday was like 24 degrees and sunny and beautiful, which in American freedom degrees, I think is, whatever perfect is. It's been great. So yeah, hope you're all having a great time. Let's go through. Oh, and of course, Kerberos Tenshi quite correctly calling out, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I am quite enjoying playing the new Star Wars season of Fortnite with my son, who I played a whole bunch of rounds. I didn't get very far. I kept getting wiped out by 6-year-olds and so on. And first game I played with my son is of course one. I was basically just following him around, carrying supplies for him, and hiding in the bushes. And then we played another round, and he won the next round. He just wins every game. I think when he plays at my level, he just cleans up, so it's kind of fun. So we've been playing some Fortnite over Golden Week, which is such as it is. Another thing, Golden Week's been kind of crap this year because we've had Saturday was a public holiday, and Sunday was a public holiday, and Monday is a public holiday, and Tuesday is a public holiday. So because Monday and Tuesday are the public holidays, they just basically left the holidays on the weekend. They didn't carry them over, so we lost 2 of the Golden Week days. We had last Tuesday was a holiday, and Monday, Tuesday are a holiday. But the 2 weekend days, and one of them, what was the other one? I'm looking up at my calendar. I can't quite make it out. Kempo Kinenbi. So Constitution Day and Green Day, both fell on the weekend, and they were like, well, just think yourselves lucky that you get a weekend. So we get a 3-day Golden Week. Not much of a Golden Week this year, but it is middle of Golden Week. So if you're here in Japan and celebrating, enjoying that, and also Happy Star Wars Day, indeed. We've got Dan H. Boom. Void Theft. Third. Glad that you could make it. How do you guys know how much a BPM a song is? I think Kerberos Tenshi actually. Some people here have gone and found you can actually search like BPM songs, and there are whole lists and databases. Cobras Tenshi told me actually he found a great sort of online database where you can actually look up the BPM and find like popular songs at different BPMs and recommend, which is why actually Cobras Tenshi's recommendations are great. Um, so you can do all of that. Oh, a list of Anis Chia songs. Well, if it's on iTunes, which is what I use, I can search it. And yeah, if you get in the general range, generally it's better to be slightly slower. Because if it's faster, then you have to slow it down to make it match. And everyone sounds slightly drunk and mentally affected. So if you speed it up, they sound all genki. It always sounds better faster. So yeah. If it's like 130, like today I was playing 136, but I was playing like 115 BPM songs, which makes them all sound like they've taken a little bit of stimulant, a little bit of amphetamine, and it makes everything sound better. Probably not good for their health. Yuri the best, great to see you. Our man from Ukraine, great to have you as always in the chat. By the way, I am in ET mode. My arms are not actually this long and skinny. They're pretty long and skinny, but they are not this long and skinny. I've left it in ultra wide mode. In fact, actually, I think I was asking this the other week and people said they didn't mind the super zoom in, although I must admit that even freaks me out a little bit. Am I like, maybe if I lower my seat a little bit. Okay, you get super zoom in like this. You get to see the blue in my eyes that matches my shirt, which also thanks to the AI color enhancement of the iPhone, you get to do that. In fact, I think I need to lower my seat. There we go. Now I'm in frame. I mean, I think people said they like zoomed in rather than zoomed out. I don't mind zoom out. I don't mind if you see them. I've been spending Golden Week tidying. Yes, I've got a lot of crap just sort of in a tidy pile that I've been trying to sort out. It's a lot of stuff. But anyway, yes, good to see you. Yuri the best. Hope everything is great in Kyiv where you are. And Mr. Cordy Chap, I'm glad that you can make it. Great to have you in here as always. Never fear, Shubas, our man from Panama has made it. Hope you're having a delicious cup of morning coffee while you're watching this. Thank goodness, Aaron says, our moderator has arrived and has nothing to fear because Shubas is here. That's right. Coffee Kampai from Germany, from Cobras Tenchi. We've got Lara enjoying all of this. Great to see you. Good morning. And not just good morning. Remember, there's some people in the afternoon here, but certainly we have a lot of people in the morning. It's great to see. Everyone in New Zealand, by the way, is asleep. It's a New Zealand thing. It's 2:40 in the morning. It's like I'm deliberately trying to avoid people from my own country. Eric Bailey, thank you for the permission to start. We will proceed. Quentin Rankid, may the 4th be with you indeed. Quentin Rankid, it still is May the 4th here as well. In fact, dude, it's just starting May the 4th for you, right? You've got a whole day of May the 4th. Yeah. I'm, by the way, anyone here watching Andor? I like Andor. I like Andor, like Star Wars for adults. It would be kind of funny if just to troll us if they like featured Jar Jar Binks. Would that work? Would it work? Where was he? Did he die at the end of episode 3? I don't think anybody cared anymore, but I do love that in Fortnite they're actually bringing back the Sith version of him. But yeah, Andor is like sophisticated. It's a lot of people say it's kind of boring or whatever, but I really like Rogue One is an excellent movie, and it's the build up to Rogue One, and it's great. I love it. So I'm watching that. I'm enjoying Star Wars stuff. Sadiq, great to have you in here, Sadiq, as always, our man from Florida. The boom indeed. Oh, and by the way, Nesta, who's in here sometimes, he actually made me a clip back. I think when I went off to New Zealand, I never had time to actually process it, but he made an animated Tokyo Tonight intro with a boom explosion and sounds, and it's awesome. And I just found it. It was in my inbox, and I just acknowledged it. It's like 5 months late. I'm terrible. So I just acknowledge it, and I'm trying to figure out how to move the clip. So hopefully next week, if I have my stuff together, there will be an awesome boom intro, which I've always wanted. It looks like MacGyver at the start, which is pretty much how I think of myself. Best theme song ever. Went walking, just woke up and went walking. Well, yeah, that's right. It is early for you, Sadiq. It's great. Glad that you can make it to join. Erin just shared over on the music live stream that she has 2 lovely dogs. My dad has 2 lovely dogs, which are also poodle crosses, and they are beautiful dogs. Yes. We have, who else do we have in here? We've got, remember, Aaron reminding people that I am not monetizing these videos. I'm lowering the bar to entry as much as possible. I mean, the only way I can make it easier to watch these videos would be removing my face. So, the only barriers to watching that are left are ones that just nature consigned me with. As a result, please leave a like. Do appreciate, helps the algorithm, all of that stuff. The algorithm has brought us together again. Hello be exo name. Well, but yeah, I am not really that active on X anymore. As you can see, the window I'm sharing is Blue Sky, which is run by what's his face, the guy who started Twitter before he made a bunch of money off it and all of that. Peter Nankara, great to see you. Children's Day is Christmas Day. That's kind of a good point. I mean, well, technically, that could be considered. I suppose if you're really sensitive about, a festival that was co-opted, I believe some sort of Roman fertility festival that was co-opted by the Roman Empire for the purpose of another day. You could consider that blasphemy, saying it's for any purpose other than strict religion. But I think you're right. It is practically speaking Christmas Day. Speak of the devil. Nesta's here. Nesta, thank you. I love the clip. And I don't know what happened because I even gave you feedback on the original thing on the type of explosion. And I don't know, I never logged into X and I didn't see the messages and I was away and I must have forgot about it. So I just saw it today. And it's awesome. I really, really love it. And I will love it. In fact, can I show it here? I think I can show it here. Nothing ever goes wrong when I try to do something new and technical here. If I show our DMs, is there a way to do this? Is there a way to do this? Give me a second. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go full screen. Okay. I can do this. I'm gonna quickly share my screen and show you a preview. His actually has sounds. It is awesome. So I'm gonna share the screen and you can all hassle me if I forget to do this next week because Nesta, you are awesome and I appreciate this. Check this out. So if I maybe do this and I present and I share screen and I do window and I do this and I share. So you can only see the animation thing, but let's have a look. Tonight, logo, boom, love it, and it's fast. It's just fast and explosions. I mean, it's basically what life should be. So yeah, that is awesome. I'm gonna go back to this view and go back to presenting, stop screen, present, share screen, window, and wow, we did all of that and nothing exploded or went wrong. So that is a good thing. Thank you, Nesta. Amen indeed. Peter Nankara, that's right. You're the best. 2 to 3 weeks in between snow and intense killer heat. Actually, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of countries that have more extreme than Japan, but Japan's pretty extreme. The summer here is extreme. We don't have, I mean, we have parts of Japan that have snow, but yeah, Tokyo doesn't get that part. So that is true. Good afternoon from the UK, says Lysander45. Great to have you in here, Lysander45. 3 months of total hell. Yeah, I mean, if you want to like lose, if you like sweat saunas, you know, if you like, I imagine Swedish people must really enjoy it here. It's basically like 3 months of a non-stop indoor and outdoor sweat sauna. So yes, Nesta125, yes, in the new round of Fortnite, the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing's kind of hard to fly, but at least the X-Wing you can slow down and strafe and stuff, but the TIE Fighter is hard. Although if you crash it and you wait like 10 seconds, it repairs and you can get back in it again. So I've gone pretty far doing that anyway. I do enjoy that. Live long and prosper. Yes, indeed. Celebrating May the 4th, sarcastically, Peter Nankara, much respect. There's actually, I did watch the other week, the final, people are watching Black Mirror, the sequel to USS Callister. And it's kind of funny. I think in it, you know, which is obviously kind of a Star Trek kind of inspired science fiction, dark but excellent Black Mirror story. They threw in a couple of random Star Wars references in it, which I enjoyed the sarcasm among everything else. Who else we got in here? Do we have everyone else? Has everyone said hello? Even if you're just like lurking, whatever, say hello. But otherwise, it is 10:47, so I'm going to jump into the topics. But I do love seeing everybody in here. Such an alien, right? That's right. That's what they borrowed. Thank you for checking that out. But yes. What is a non-binary pronoun? Sang. Japanese has lots of them. Lately, it's not even lately. I actually heard an economist podcast talking about the history of actually, it was a podcast talking about a book about the history of pronouns from a linguistics perspective in English, and apparently, using the third person plural as a gender neutral pronoun has been something that apparently has been a big thing in English for a long time. It's kind of a humorous linguistics book that wrote all of that quite cleverly. But who really cares? They them. It's not a recent thing that gets used for that purpose. Although, like I say, I like the Japanese approach of just like, how about we just not have prepositions and pronouns? It just makes life so much easier. Um, and yeah, no, Nesta made that stuff from scratch. I must admit, I mean, you sort of think when AI gets smart enough and you can say, take this title and do this with this title and take this graphic and do this with this graphic and like, turn it into like a blockbuster movie. We're not that far away from that. It's not quite able to follow instructions like that right now, but the AI editing stuff is crazy and cool and it's pretty close. But right now, no, I mean, yeah, Nesta, I can see you did all of that from scratch and I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry I didn't pick up on it sooner. That said, topic time. So what have we been up to? Again, news-wise, I was going through the other live streams, including Langley Esquire's podcast this morning. All the politicians are basically on international trips for Golden Week. There are some people asking, by the way, not a story in here, whether, the whole story about, it's kind of funny seeing Canada take credit for making Trump back down over tariffs by pulling the bond, the US debt bonds card, and how they beat America like 1812 all over again. But Japan is the country that has $1 trillion worth of US debt bonds, more than China, more than Canada, more than anyone else. And Japan started to sell those bonds because America just, frankly, looks completely insane at the moment. And they thought maybe this wasn't a good country to bet on, and the government just took some of the bonds back. And when that happened, basically, the government sort of immediately backed off on tariffs, and at least who knows what goes on in the mind of American government leadership, but apparently, it was the sell-off in bonds by other governments, which partly caused the U.S. government to rethink its strategy on tariffs. I mean, there still are 25% tariffs on most things from Japan at the moment, or 24%, right? They gave us a percent, but some apparently in Japan, people have been asking, did Japan weaponize its ownership of U.S. debt? And the Bank of Japan is saying, oh no, we'd never do anything like that. So they're denying it. The Canadians probably didn't do it, but are taking credit for it. So good for Canada. Also interesting, I suppose, how Canada and Australia, two Anglophile countries and very pro-US countries, typically, where in fact, we have Mr. Cordy Chet mentioning it. How everyone in Australia is saying that basically Trump has basically caused the branding of right-wing parties in Canada and in Australia to go into the absolute toilet. And Australia is not a left-wing country by any means. It is fundamentally, Australia is fundamentally a fun, friendly, redneck country. But even they were saying, and the thing is, I mean, from what I see from afar, and God, Australian politics is absolutely terrible. The only country with more terrifying politics to me than Australia is Taiwan. But they don't seem to be particularly crazy right now, and everything seems I mean, there's inflation and everything else, but yeah, interesting that apparently the associations of the right wing with Trump is part of the reason that they decided not to vote for the left-wing party. So yes, it is interesting. Robin Williams once described Australia as a country of English rednecks, which even it's kind of funny, the Australian Prime Minister got really offended and made some comments back that sounded petty and stupid. Every Australian I know completely agreed with Robin Williams and that description. It's a great description. And I mean that in a good way. Oh, the UK, of course, that's right. Quentin Rankard, they went far to the right. Well, honestly, the UK is just voting. I mean, they can vote for whatever they want. I mean, Brexit fundamentally was a vote for reform. And I've seen the analysis of that a lot of Labour voters are switching to reform, and they're switching to reform because a lot of workers who are worried about their jobs and feel like the government is ignoring them over their concerns about over-immigration are turning to the party which is talking about the issues that they are worried about. And, the Labour Party just thought any opposition on immigration, even if it hurts workers that support them, or is perceived to hurt workers, would be racist, and you can't do it. So yeah, there's a lot of people voting for reform. I don't know. I look at the UK and I just see a country just punching itself in the face, and it's kind of fun at first, but then it just becomes sad. But certainly, yeah, there is a trend there of a non-mainstream party. I mean, that country's had basically stagnant politics for such a long time. And as Lysander 45 says, exactly, they've had stagnant two-party, neither really doing anything for anyone politics. I mean, I don't know, the Liberal Democrats have been there, but I don't really know if that'd be any different. So yeah, a lot of people just voting for something different definitely makes sense. But yeah, so I don't know, interesting times in the world. But that's it. Japan is not using the sale of bonds to get back at America, it seems. You know, the opposition here is there's no big change going to happen in Japan, which is for better and for worse. Excellent guide here from the Gaijin Pop blog on what it means to go to jail in Japan. What it really means. I mean, they could have just done it in 2 words. We're past the time when the algorithm would censor the entire stream for so I think of the first 2 minutes, if you say a profanity, it'll like mark it as adult content. But now I can pretty much say you could just take this long detailed article from arrest to trial to incorporation, how long you can be held, what you need to know, what are your rights as a foreign national, can you talk to your embassy, can you see a lawyer, all of this, resources and help. This is really an excellent guide. But I would summarize it as a lawyer who's dealt not directly, but know people who have helped and supported cases like this. It's 2 words. You're fucked. That's this whole thing. If you're in prison, or you're facing prison, or the police have decided to proceed with prosecution, which means it's normally going to be something serious, because they Japanese, while Japan has a 99% conviction rate, they also only proceed with like 10% of cases. They just don't bother most of the time. But when they decide to go, it's a formality. The courts basically work for the prosecution. And yeah, day in the life in a prison. I mean, if this makes you feel sad, just remember that Johnny Somali went through this, and you can feel a little bit better about it. But yes, no sleep-ins. Work duties, morning work. The fact that you're not allowed to talk, that you have to like kneel in your cell for a lot of the time. The food in Chu prison, yeah, probably not good. I mean, I suppose there's things you hear about prison in some countries, and the problems of male rape and problems like that. Apparently not such a big thing in Japan. So if that's the thing that worries you about prison, maybe Japan is Club Med. But in every other aspect, Japanese prisons are tough, and people have indeed died in Japanese prisons. And Somali is in Korean prison. He's been on trial, I think, and apparently his counsel has done a terrible job. There's been some Korean legal blogger who's like been visiting court every day and giving updates online about how Johnny Somali's trial is going. And I watched 1 or 2 just for a little bit of Schadenfreude. But yeah. I mean, I don't celebrate the misery of other people, but when you see someone, whether it's through mental illness or just compulsion or whatever, that just does it to himself on purpose. Legal mindset. That's right. Lysander 45. If you want to see Johnny Somali finding out, check out Legal Mindset's channel, and you can see how in Japan, if you're a foreigner, honestly, you have to go pretty far to end up in the prison situation. But in Korea, they don't mess about over there, and they're not letting him off the hook. Everybody is indeed rooting for his doom. He is scored, but he's doing it on purpose. I mean, he's literally sabotaging himself on purpose. He's like pulling crap in court. He's doing so. Like I said, I think he's got some sort of a compulsive condition which he just self-sabotages like that, but which makes me think, if he's doing that, he wants to do it. It's like, so there's nothing to feel sorry about. But Sainted Sir, good morning, New York City. Good to have you in the chat. And FAFO, that is exactly what it is about. So yeah, what happens if you go to prison in Japan? You're fucked. But unlike American prison, you probably won't be fucked, but you'll be fucked. There's a lot of F's. Whatever the expression is, there will be many F's, I think, is the conclusion there. Ice Poseidon. Is Ice Poseidon the Cypriot guy? Who's Ice? I don't even want to know, actually. That's a different guy, right? The Cypriot guy who became an EU politician. Ugh, what is wrong with people in Cyprus? Oh my god. I don't know who Ice Poseidon is. I don't know. There are people. I honestly, I can only think that he must be like mentally ill, but not in a way that he deserves to get off. So anyway, yeah. On more uplifting news, Unseen Japan covering why Japanese single men are the unhappiest in the world. Apparently, in Japan, single men are unhappier than married men and more likely to commit suicide. And Japan has one of the highest. Well, one, remember, males have a much higher suicide rate than women. And among that, unmarried men in their 50s who are often either divorced or never married have a very high rate of suicide. And very sad. For women, interestingly, married women have a higher rate of suicide. Unmarried women in Japan are marginally but measurably happier than married women. So that's a thing. There are similar trends in all countries, but it's more extreme in Japan. But yes, divorce makes men unhappier, but saves women. Women live longer and commit suicide less. Certainly, everybody. I know that there's a big thing about the trend of women's suicide increasing during COVID and so on with this, but I think it's also important to point out men have like 10 times the suicide rate, and it is a thing as well. The with the and this is where a little bit where there's been this sort of political backlash on this political correctness thing in America. How yes, we are fundamentally, a lot of our societies are patriarchal, and there are a lot of advantages that men have, and by virtue of their gender, and women have disadvantages. But at the same time, it's not all roses, and suicide rates are probably the biggest and most important thing, which show it's not always easier being a man. And when everyone's saying that men have all the power and are the oppressors and are the default, and you have a lot of men who are dealing with mental health issues and stuff like that. I can see how they end up going the other way and kind of going a little bit insane in the opposite direction. Fighting back against that, and that's why I think partly there's been that correction. But yeah, give lonely men cats. I mean, seriously, that's actually a good idea. I mean, the idea of making fun of cat ladies. Those cat ladies are not committing suicide as much as the men without cats. And cats, aren't even very nice. I'm allergic, but so I'm screwed. Give them a dog or do whatever. It's actually, it sounds superficial, but I actually think you're onto something with that, Dan H. So yeah, bleak stats. I will move on. From Tokyo Cheapo, New Zealand run blog, by the way, or New Zealand expat, like me, they've lived in Japan forever. But yeah, they've got a blog here. 26 day trips from Tokyo, correctly pronounced 26. New Zealand accent. And yeah, 26 things you can do on a day trip from Tokyo. And looking at the map over here, you can see the range. Nikko is pretty far, but there is an express train that will get there, and you can indeed go to Nikko and come back. You'll be exhausted. But there we go, maximum 2.5 hours away. So you can't quite get down to Shimoda down here. That's like 3 hours, and honestly, I wouldn't do that on a return on a day trip. Even other places in Shizuoka. Maybe if you went by bullet train, you could sort of do that. But yeah, recommended things close to Tokyo. Kamakura, which I have not been to in 20 years, but Big Buddha indeed. And very easy to get to. I should go down to Kamakura sometime. It gets really hot really soon. Enoshima, of course, the beaches and everything down near Yokohama. Nikko, a lot of people going to Nikko that I know are going to Nikko for the long weekend, and just the fact that you can go there and not have to stay in a hotel. Lately, hotels are costing like 60,000 yen a night. They're going into foreign rates that just Japanese people cannot afford. So this is another thing where you do trips where you don't need to book a hotel. Makes a lot of sense. Hakone Hot Springs. Yeah, I took my dad down there and my son a wee while ago. My dad came down to Japan. Up to Japan, I should say. So that is a good thing. Kawaguchiko, which is actually great. Yes, great in winter as well. Yamanashi Prefecture. There's great... oh, I bumped my desk there. Great... great picking and all that stuff. I won't go through all 26, but these are all solid recommendations. 26 things. I mean, I guess there are. It's a pretty big region anyway. So I recommend the site Tokyo Cheapo. These are good suggestions. In general news, the ongoing chaos about rice that I've already been talking about, how the problem is that while there was a heat wave which caused less rice to be produced in 2023, the following year, the Ministry of Agriculture compensated by having everybody grow extra rice. And the result is there is enough rice, but it all got put into storage silos. And then when the Ministry of Agriculture did tenders, basically, I mean, it is fundamentally a government controlled, communist North Korean agriculture production system. And I've talked about this with regards to butter before, but with rice, they've never allowed it to get screwed up with rice before. And I'll tell you what, I remember before I came to Japan in the 90s, and I pointed out how you can get a 20 kilogram bag of, I used to get a 20 kilogram bag of rice for 20 New Zealand dollars, about 15 US dollars. And you come to Japan, and I paid more than that for like a 2 kilo bag. It was crazy how much more expensive the rice was, and it was basically the same rice. It was still japonica rice made in Australia. And all my Japanese friends, even the ones in New Zealand who were eating japonica rice grown in Australia, said, "Oh no, Japanese would never accept imported rice because Japanese, to us the taste is so important, and we'd never do it." But yeah, what's happened is the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture held a public tender for distribution of all the rice, and the wholesalers who got all the rice basically deliberately have not distributed rice. They've just held it and hoarded it in order to deliberately drive up prices, which means that right now in May 2025, rice prices are 90%, 98% higher than they were in May of 2024. They're up 100% year over year. For a country with inflation of less than 2%, Japan's most important staple of rice is 2%. And in the frustration, Japanese people are eating Korean rice. They're going to Korea and buying rice from Korea and bringing it back. They are eating American rice, and people are eating it now and finding out it's like half the price, and it's available, and it actually tastes okay. And I never thought, I always thought that Japanese would be the last ones to admit that the rice tastes perfectly fine. But now you're seeing online, people are angry at the farmers, and the farmers are saying it's not our fault. People are angry at the government. The government is saying, well, it's the wholesalers' fault. But the government set up the system where the wholesalers are incentivized to hoard and to run up the prices of it. So, yeah, Eric Bailey, there is a 700% tariff on American rice, but they also have a de minimis threshold, which is now so high that basically all of the rice that's getting into Japan right now is on a 0% tariff. I don't think America's reached it's like 8 million tons or some sort of large number that America's never reached. It was previously pretty much banned. And by the way, I've always been for complete open free trade on this. I understand why Japan thought it was a national security thing to restrict the trade, but right now, while the tariff exists, it's not actually applied to what's being imported here, which is why the stuff is so cheap. And people are eating it and loving it. They're getting a taste for that American rice, and everybody's finally gotten sufficiently pissed off with the Japanese Ministry of Agriculture and the Japanese farmers, the average age of which is 85 years old, and they all drive very nice cars and do quite well, that people are saying, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to eat Korean rice. We're going to import Korean and American rice, and it tastes perfectly fine. So this whole thing that Japanese can't digest foreign beef and foreign rice is kind of, for the first time that I've ever seen, has been broken. It was something that I thought I'd never see in my lifetime. But yeah, when you basically double the price of rice, and it's kind of funny. It's like it's got the worst of both capitalism and communism. On the one hand, the production and distribution is controlled by the government, which leads to all sorts of stupid planning and inefficiency and so on that results in shortages of agricultural products in Japan. But at the same time, they've also used the free market for the distribution part in a way that they're incentivized to not distribute and to run up prices. So it's like you get both, a sort of a predatory free market combined with incompetent North Korean style agriculture management, which, just results in right now, everybody I've never seen before. I never thought the day would come when Japanese would say, hey, foreign rice is okay. But yeah, well, it doesn't stop, Eric Bailey. Just everything above the threshold gets tariffed. And I suppose, if it's 700%, I mean, frankly, you won't be able to sell it, right? But all the stuff that's coming in right now is selling more than it's ever sold. In fact, a lot of the commercial chains are doing it. I think, and right now, it seems like now's as good a time as any that that threshold's likely to be raised. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, do they drop bowling balls on American rice? I think they do it for making mochi. That's how they make it. They test the mochi by dropping bowling balls on it. The bowling ball tests, I'll have you know, have been completely abolished, in subservience to US demands. So there we go. No more bowling ball tests on rice or anything else that I'm aware of. Hopefully not people. And something that was awesome that I didn't know about, but now I can't enjoy it because it got banned. Apparently, so there are two main martial art. I mean, there's probably a million, of course, but uh, the uh, the two main martial arts involving swords, Aido and Kendo. Everybody knows Kendo, which is basically May the Fourth. It's basically like lightsaber fighting. Literally, Star Wars was originally based on a huge Kurosawa Akira fan, of course, George Lucas, and he actually had everybody using kendo sticks for the lightsaber fights, and had kendo instructors. Star Wars is all the lightsaber fighting is kendo. But there is another martial art that some people might know about, which is like the tea. It's like the tea ceremony to karate as Aido is to kendo, rather than just straight up bashing each other's brains out with sticks like you do with kendo. The Aido, hey, believe in yourself, nice to see you. Aido is basically the ceremony. It's kind of ceremonially drawing your sword, as I understand, put very, very simply. I've probably offended all the Aido people out there, but it's basically the art of walking and carrying swords. And there is a thing traditionally, it was like a super rule that you do not, you don't bump your sword into someone, you don't pull the sword out or whatever. If you pulled the sword out, it's something like, it's like when the police, it's like the LAPD in the Rodney King case pointing out that, it's actual regulations that if they draw their gun, they have to shoot to kill. They're not allowed to shoot the legs or something they said in their defense at one point, which is why they just beat him with sticks. You talk about defenses that don't make sense. Apparently the thing was, if you drew a sword, you had to kill someone with it, was the old thing. But if you're to draw it, you might as well draw it with some style. So it is the martial art of stylistically drawing your sword. But there is a thing that you can, occasionally they do demos, particularly with new swords, where you would cut bushels of bamboo. The story goes, and apparently this is true, in the old days, they didn't, in the good old days, they didn't bother with bamboo. They would just use criminals or regular townsfolk. Samurai basically had samurai were assholes, and the fact that the Yakuza claim that they are the continuation and the direct inheritors of sort of samurai tradition, to the extent that they could just walk around and just decide to like smite people, yeah, that's pretty much the case. And so apparently in Yamaguchi, they actually had a thing where they had a permission, tameshigiri, which is basically testing a new sword prior to use, where instead of using it to actually just kill a random peasant, you could actually they switched to the more politically correct practice of yamagata, of cutting bamboo. So this was like an approved tourist activity that they would allow tourists to have swords and to practice cutting like bamboo sticks with it, as a good simulation of the pressure needed to actually cut through a person. And apparently, while you're not technically supposed to have a knife longer than like 8 centimeters, I think. So someone was carried, like people get arrested even for carrying around scissors with more than 8 centimeter blades. Literally a large like a kitchen knife. I think it's like 14 centimeters for kitchen knives. I was at a churrasco restaurant last week, and the knife was like a machete. It was awesome, but I was like, yeah, seriously, that thing, the legal status in Japan, knives are regulated under the same law as swords and guns. It's literally the juntoho, the guns and swords and knives laws. And under this, there's this thing. If you've got a sword, like basically, if you're only allowed to have a real sword, like an Aido sword, if it's like 8 centimeters long. So if you actually have a real full length sword, you actually have to register it. You literally have to have a license. It's basically the same as owning an Uzi. So, when you do Aido, they're in very controlled and regulated circumstances. But apparently the Yamagata police and prefecture allowed as a tourist activity. They allowed a special setup in Murayama town where you could go there and you could just get a sword and just chop stuff with it, and the police were totally okay with that. Basically, the equivalent of going to America and as a tourist, imagine a tourist attraction in America where you get into the back seat of a car with an Uzi and just practice drive-by shooting a house. That's kind of the equivalent of what the police recognize. I mean, not a random house. It's a specifically chosen house for the purpose of understanding the cultural practice of drive-by shooting. In this case, chopping townspeople, with a bamboo thing. But apparently, after a few years of doing this, and it was perfectly acceptable, they even got a tourism award apparently for allowing people to just chop things with real samurai swords. The police decided actually, technically, those are Uzis under Japanese law, and we're going to regulate them as such. So, yeah, the fun is over, and now that it's over, I kind of wish I could have gone and done that. I've done Kendo, and it's super fun. I mean, you get to do that. It's both. It's like a combination of squash, rage therapy, and Star Wars all at the same time. But yeah. Thoughts on Kabushiki Gaisha Disco? FT did a great article on them. You can share with me the article. I've heard of Disco. Why have I heard of them? It's not springing to mind right now. They're not the electric motor generator. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not fresh at the moment. So I'd appreciate if you could share the article. I can maybe do it next week. Axe throwing is a skill-based hobby, as is Aido. It's literally the tea ceremony of chopping people up. So yeah, it's that's not a knife. Oh, great line. Yes. That's not, it's literally in Japan, that's not a knife. That's literally and regulated exactly the same as if you own an Uzi. So Eric Bailey now has more Japanese swords than Japan. I believe it. Yeah. I mean, in Japan, they are strictly controlled. Probably for the best. Fortnite is coming back. Talked a lot about Fortnite tonight. I play it with my son, and I do enjoy it, especially now that it's Star Wars month at the moment. But it's coming back in America. It's coming back to iOS because Apple's been naughty and good, and I'm hoping we get to play it in Japan soon. What else we got here? I'm amazed that they can still keep coming up with these topics, but this is a perennial one that I've talked about before. Should I come to Japan without a degree? And it's not so much a degree that's important, although if you want to be a school teacher or professor, you're required in Japan to have some sort of a degree. But have a trade, have a skill that's not related to your, that's not related to just speaking English as a native speaker. Because you can get a job, you can pay for your backpacking vacation in Japan teaching English, and get quite good money for it to sustain yourself. But you can also stay in that job until you're 50 years old. And the advice I give to everybody always is to have a second skill, have a degree, have an apprenticeship, have some sort of a skill, and have that to fall back on. One, if you ever want to leave Japan and have a chance of a career, or two, if you want to do something other than English teaching in Japan, have something else to fall back on. English teaching and so on, there are things that are always there. But so many people come to Japan without a plan, and they skip their degree and think that Japan's my calling and whatever. And I get it. I felt that as well. I was impatient to get here, but I tell you what, in the big scheme of things, I could have come here when I was 22 years old, before I finished my law degree. Having that degree opened up all the doors and all the jobs that I ever did. I didn't even work as a lawyer for like 7 years till I got here. But having a degree also helped me get my job in IT. I wouldn't have been able to get my first job as a system engineer if I hadn't finished my degree. And having those skills, and there are skills overseas, like if you've got anything related to AI or anything like that at the moment, you can print money in Japan right now because there's a skills shortage on these things. But just coming here, skipping halfway through your degree because you want to find out that anime is real, and you decide to sustain it with teaching, you're gonna find out a few years later that you've screwed yourself. So generally speaking, what they're talking about, they again, lots of detail here, the different visas that are available, but generally you've got to be bringing in some kind of skilled labor, some kind of engineer, humanities, some kind of qualification, and university degrees are a good version of that, but there are other things that are just as good. Audio is cutting. That is annoying. Let me quickly have a look at my audio settings. So there's no weird settings turned on. Have I got the mic just too far away? If I speak closer to the mic, the stream has been glitching a bit. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. My Bluetooth is not plugged in, but is it like that? Is it dropping out? I'm just thinking maybe I'm far away from the mic. I don't have the settings that normally screw it up are not activated. I wonder if it's this guy. Maybe if I take out, I'm going to unplug. The other thing is actually I have two. I've added a USB camera that I'm not using, but it could be. Oh, in fact, Just the fact that I've still got the after party camera on. Maybe if I turn off some of these other cameras, it could be my USB devices. There's too much USB going. This is an old computer, which I've got to get a new one for soon anyway. So that might fix it anyway. Hopefully it's okay now. I just unplugged some USB devices just in case that was the cause. So yeah, anyway, I'll keep doing that. Another interesting one, surveys of tourists coming to Japan where they had all these complaints before, not enough Wi-Fi. So Japan increased the Wi-Fi everywhere. And, you know, people complaining about different things. And the Japanese government, they do. I've been surveyed, or, you know, I've had to say I'm not a tourist as you leave the airport. The Japanese government, as they are, they're just very methodical about going through and trying to find out how can we be. I didn't think that Japan could become a country that was friendly to foreign tourists, which now is like one of the best tourist destinations in the world. They've done an amazing job to the point now where apparently 51.1% of people now respond when they're asked, what is the thing you most complain about? You know, what's your biggest problem with Japan? 51.1% say nothing. Everything's great. Their travel was issue free. Whereas apparently only 2 years before that number was 29.7%. So either we're getting just more agreeable tourists. Maybe if you increase the prices like it's been happening. I mean, I'll tell you what, with everything being so expensive overseas, probably people are definitely appreciating how reasonable the prices here are, which maybe is making everything else seem better. But yeah. For all of the issues that we have here, including people that have complaints, people complaining that there are not enough garbage cans, which is definitely true, but apparently the number of people complaining about that is less. And that's a reasonable thing to complain about. But yeah, tourists are happy. To which I must say, if you've got nothing to complain about, then you're completely unequipped for becoming an expat resident of Japan, because it's always been a requirement. If you want to come and live in Japan as a foreign resident, you know, it's actually required from what I can assess. It seems like you have to be able to complain about literally everything all the time. If you can't complain about everything, I don't see, with that kind of attitude, how people are ever going to become expats who are living in Japan. So tourists, get your complaining game up, seriously. I love this, the picture of with that photo, I will never take you seriously, says Greg Lane from Tokyo Cheapo. To which I say, I got a fever and the only prescription is more Fuji. This is definitely a more cowbell situation. Actually, Mount Fuji, you know, if you didn't have the Hakone Mountains in front of Mount Fuji, particularly where I work in the Meguro area, and I get a great view of Fuji, but it's obstructed by the mountains. But if you took those mountains away, it would look that big, actually. It's just there's more mountains in front of it. That is the problem. But yeah, that is a cool thing. Funny here, a story here from a US sports magazine saying that apparently it was Rocky Sasaki, in making negotiations for his contract with the Dodgers. I don't know if it was stipulated in the contract, but it was a point of negotiation that he insisted that the clubhouse have Japanese toilets. They have Toto toilets. And apparently it became a major factor in his decision of where to play in America. And I know that while, yes, the toilets being a factor in any form of employment or job negotiation sounds, of course, ridiculous. I can tell you, when I go overseas and I'm not using a toilet that washes and dries and deodorizes my own bum and helps me like not be constipated anymore and is clean and hygienic, I mean, all the toilets that I grew up with literally feel like going, like my mum's generation, they used outhouses. Like literally you had to go out of the house, and in the backyard there would be a kind of a long drop or a septic tank. And apparently they were horrific, right? In the 1950s in rural Australia or whatever, you know, lots of places weren't connected like that. And that, you know, and everyone's so happy that you have a toilet that's connected, and it sounds so archaic to have outhouses. Well, for me, I tell you what, the toilets that I grew up with, which, well, they weren't as horrific as hearing people complain about what outhouses used to be like. But once you're in Japan, the normal toilets feel like outhouses to me, and absolutely, it's important stuff, right? If you can, I would 100%. I don't know how much it would equate in terms of pay negotiations. How much of a pay cut would I take to be at a place that had Japanese toilets as opposed to not Japanese toilets. It's like choosing an airline or something like that. Like I always check if Singapore Airlines is within 10% of the most reasonable airfare, I would pay for it just because Singapore Airlines is that good. I'll pay a premium for it. And the other way around, it makes total sense. I reckon Rocky Sasaki promoting the fact, I really wish everyone outside of Japan would figure out that toilets are important and having nice toilets is a good thing. Heated as well. I mean, heated is not even... I don't even know what that means, Satan Sir. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to try to interpret that, but yes. Uh, like they cry a little inside would be. I don't. Okay, I'm missing some conversations here. I see that Ninja Monkey has joined the chat. By the way, Ninja Monkey did a video the other day, which was what was it? The dark side of Japanese trains, and I was like, oh no, he's just going to do another video about suicides or something. But no, he's actually talking about how, yeah, there are still aspects of the train systems which are being slowly improved, like, for example, the different train gate systems and some of the inefficiencies. So he actually goes through in detail how to use them and how to basically, and what the flaws of the system are that still need to be improved. And it was good educational stuff. So again, I always recommend Ninja Monkey when I see you there. He's got a great channel. Go check him out. And Toto Toilets, yeah. That is something that Japan has pretty much perfected, at least for now. So yeah, Mike Zilla, great to see you. Nostalgic for the Thunder boxes. I mean, again, I never had to use them, but yeah, I lived in the houses and the towns which had them for my parents' generation. So yeah, no, I was again when I saw it, it's a bit clickbaity of a title, and I was like, oh, you're gonna do like the Unrested. I'm going to tell you all about the dark. Unrested makes good videos, by the way, but he started out a little bit clickbaity, and I used to go, oh, he's doing another video like that. My reaction to the title, the dark side of trains, the dark side of toilets. Now there's a video. Ninja Monkey, make a video on the dark side of toilets. I was a little bit, what is this? But I checked it. No, you put a lot of work into that. It was good. So I endorse your video on trains, and everyone should go watch it. Would love to actually meet. Yeah, I'm in summer, dude. I am traveling. I'll be traveling. Oh yeah, everyone should know. I'll be traveling to Italy and France in from June 7 for 2 weeks. My dad's staying right in the corner there. There's a big family reunion thing, so I'm just going to travel around a little bit around there. I don't think there's anyone here who watches from those areas, but that'll be pretty cool. I've never been to I've been to Spain, I've been to Germany, I've been to Romania, I've been to UK, but I've never been to France. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll be away for 2 weeks, but other than that, I'm here suffering, enjoying the Swedish sauna summer that is Japan at that time. So yeah, if anyone's lurking and you happen to be like in the south of France or like the north of Italy or anything like that, I'll be zipping around on train and backpack. Well, I'll be spending a bunch of time mainly in France. But if you're around, I'll say hello. But otherwise, I'll be in. I'd love to see you, Ninja Monkey, and anyone else. If you're ever in Tokyo, of course, goes without saying, hit me up. I'll go out for a coffee, go out for a lunch, do whatever. But America, I mean, America really wants to join with Canada. And as a New Zealander, when I hear Australians say, hey, don't you think it's stupid that we're separate countries? And I always say, I completely agree. As someone of both Australian and New Zealand parentage, I think it would be great if Australia would join New Zealand and become an extra island of our country. And I do think that the dark side of train toilets. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I've always thought, I mean, if Trump really wants America and Canada to be unified, I mean, they should just offer to have America become like, I don't know how many provinces there are, maybe the 15th province or whatever it is. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. The Canadians could teach them how to play ice hockey. It'd be awesome. I don't know. It is weird that he carries on, and the stuff with the Pope. I mean, like, I don't really care. I care neither about the Pope nor about the U.S. president. But the U.S. president putting out a picture of himself as the Pope, and U.S. politicians saying that, oh, he would make a great Pope. Even as a joke, I'm like, no. It's like Grandpa's drunk, and it's time to just start ignoring him. That's pretty much how I interpret that. But yes, a clean butt is a happy butt. I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh yeah, the article here from the Japan Times. What do you do if your city sits in the path of a predicted 100% will happen 31-meter, which is a 100-foot tsunami? Shimoda. Shimoda is the nicest beach town in Japan, and all of the little beach houses there are wonderful and affordable. They're owned by a really high proportion of foreigners. Japanese don't want to buy there for some strange reason. But I tell you, the best surfing. They've got great waves. There's great diving nearby. It is a beautiful part of Japan. It is my favorite place in Japan, and it is 100% going to be hit. It is Japan's #1 tsunami risk area. They get periodic, guaranteed tsunamis, and if you're there when it happens, you are in the Japanese prison system. Pretty much, you are. It's two words. You're done for. But yeah, it is at the same time, it is lovely. And expats who I guess are not thinking about having lifetime ownership of a property down there, knowing that it's absolutely going to be destroyed and destroyed by a 100-foot tsunami. And if you happen to be down there on a weekend when it happens, they will not find you. But yeah, other than that, it is lovely. And I do like to go down there. And that is what, and this is where everywhere you go in the town of Shimoda, there are signs everywhere on what your altitude is and how much and what the quickest way to get to 40 meters above sea level is. It's also kind of mountainous, so you can actually, it's not all flat. You can actually run into the hills if a tsunami comes, but you basically get no warning there. That's the other thing as well. The sea is really deep. So if there's an earthquake, like anywhere within 1,000 kilometers of this place, and it puts a wave, you won't even see the wave coming. It'll just suddenly rise as it gets to the shore, up to 31 meters, and you're just gonna have to run like hell. But it really is really nice. I mean, the beaches in Shimoda are nicer than in Okinawa, if you ask me. You can get lots of good crayfish. There's good restaurants. It's sunny. There's diving. It's really, I do recommend it. But there you go. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, did I mention this? Oh yeah. This was a news story. Oh, this was funny. Okay, couple more stories. We're running out of time, but I'm going to go through. They're just starting to allow Kyoto police to wear sunglasses because it's seen as slacking off on the job to buy drinks out of vending machines, go into convenience stores, or wear sunglasses in a place that's hotter than Tokyo and more miserable than Tokyo. I mean, they're all basically dehydrated and blind, like halfway through their shifts. 90% of police would list they would like sunglasses, please, but they're not allowed to wear them. So yeah, I mean, if they wanted to make the police look cooler, the only way that they could make them look cooler than let them wear sunglasses would be allowing them to smoke. So they're doing sunglasses instead, which is probably a better way of going about it. This guy, a Chinese guy, a week ago, Mount Fuji is still closed. It's not open until midsummer, and you know the climbing season. But you can just climb over the gates and go up the mountain yourself. Apparently, a Chinese student, I don't know if he's a student or a tourist, but he climbed up. He went around the gates like a couple of weeks ago and went up Mount Fuji and got stuck by the 8th hut and needed to be helicopter rescued off the mountain. However, he when he came back down, he realized that he had dropped his phone while he was being rescued. So 2 days later, he went back up and he climbed up Mount Fuji again to get his phone and got stuck again and had to be helicopter rescued off the mountain again. It is a dangerous mountain, and like something like a dozen people die on it every year. So a smoking cop with sunglasses. That's a hot cop. I'm promoting bad things for police officers. So there is a proverb in Japanese that you're a fool never climbs Mount Fuji, but also a fool climbs it more than once. There's this kind of it's literally the ichido noboranu baka. So not climbing once is an idiot. Climbing twice, however, is also an idiot. But I've added a line. 同じ週で2度登る気違い, which is climbing twice in the same week makes you an effing tard, if tard. I don't know. I don't think you're allowed to say it. Kichigai just means crazy, but it is a NHK forbidden broadcast word. So, you know, it translates to the R word, but it's been banned in Japan for like 80 years. And I think it's going to catch on, especially now that we have a case of a person who not only climbed the mountain twice, but he climbed it twice in the same week to go get his mobile phone. Don't be that guy. We're up on time. That was pretty much it. Oh, apparently, yeah, Zespri, they put out, did I show this? They showed I think I showed this last week, the New Zealand kiwi fruit commercial. So yeah, I think we're good. everybody, take care. I'm gonna go set up the. Oh, I'm already set up here. You can see I've got all the equipment out. I did the pre-party, so I'm gonna do the after party where you can choose the tracks. Check out the try to choose tracks. Check the BPMs. Try to keep it close. But yeah, it's always lots of fun. Last week I went and bought a bunch of the music that you guys asked for, that you guys recommended, and I'm gonna do that again today, I'm sure. So can't wait to see your recommendations. If you're not gonna hang around for the after party, I'll see you next week. See you. By the way, I'm Hiko Simon on Fortnite. If you ever want to play Fortnite with me, I'm playing Star Wars like at the moment, especially it's Golden Week. So if you want to play Fortnite with me, I'm on Fortnite as Hiko Simon. I'm sure you can just search by my handle name. Do remember to smash the like button. Do what Shuba says. And all of that stuff. Have a great week, everybody. If you're in Japan, enjoy the Golden Week. If you're not in Japan, come to Japan. It's really good right now, and it's not going to be good for much longer. So have a good one, everyone, and boom. Peace. I'll see you on the after party on the other stream, which Aaron has put there in the got up on screen. And you are quite welcome, Quint Ranked. Always good to have all of you in the chat. So yeah, see you all next week, and see you in the after party, and see you later.